I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. Before 2022 came to an end, I had a chance to head back to the place of my high school and college years, which gave a chance to spend some time exploring a combination of places that I hadn't seen for a long time and those I hadn't yet been to before. We'll spend some time in eastern North Carolina, exploring historic buildings, taking in a college basketball game, and revisiting the old stomping grounds of a famous pirate. In 1999, my stepdad Carmen got a job at East Carolina University, located in the city of Greenville, North Carolina, and that led to him and my mom Ruth Ann moving us to the eastern half of the Tar Heel State. After spending my high school and college years in the area, I eventually moved to Florida, and then 3 years later back to Washington State. But ever since that move to Florida, I tried to make it back to North Carolina at least once a year to visit my parents, although 2019 was the first year I didn't make it back due to us getting together in Hawaii instead. And then the pandemic made it a bit tricky for the next couple years after. But after being away for a while, I was ready to return to my other home, although the plan did change a couple times. Originally, I was going to head back in February of 2023 so that my longtime friend Chris and I could attend the Carolina Hurricanes Stadium Series game against the Washington Capitals. But when the tickets were about to go on sale to the general public, we saw that they were a little bit pricey for what we were comfortable with. So with less of a reason to come back in February and my rediscovered flexibility because of my job change, I looked at possibly visiting earlier and found that the Seattle Kraken were going to be in Raleigh to play the Hurricanes around mid-December of 2022. It felt like a fitting excuse to come back around that time and join my parents for a game for the first time in several years, especially to go with my stepdad since he took me to my first ever hockey game in that same building over 20 years earlier. Unfortunately, I found out right before my trip that my parents were feeling under the weather, and so I didn't get to spend as much time with them as originally planned, but it did give me the opportunity to rediscover some places that I hadn't been to in a long time, and a chance to see some different sights I had not yet seen before. With a really early departure, I stayed in a SeaTac hotel so I could catch the early morning flight. Although the trip wasn't without some trouble, as there was a mechanical delay with the North Satellite train. Luckily, they fixed it with enough time to enjoy a Beecher's grilled cheese sandwich before having to get on board. I've taken this route with Alaska Airlines direct to Raleigh from Seattle on several occasions, since it's one of the most convenient ways to get back to North Carolina. While Washington is my primary home, I still get a nice sense of familiarity seeing the convergence of North Carolina's Piedmont and Coastal Plains regions where the Raleigh-Durham Airport sits, as the eastern part of the state will always be a second home. Once I had my bag and rental car, it was time to head to my folks' house, which became a sort of base for my visit for the following several days. There's a few things I always make a point of doing when I'm back in North Carolina, including a customary visit to Bojangles, especially for that Cajun filet biscuit. After breakfast, though, I went across the river from my folks' place in Chocowinity to the town of Washington. This was the first city in the United States named in honor of the former President of the United States, George Washington, established in 1776. The city is known for its location on the Pamlico River, which offers some spots to enjoy the water with the likes of a waterfront marina and open park space that hosts a variety of special events. Those who want a more relaxed visit can take it easy on one of the porch-style swings that sit alongside the water's edge, swaying back and forth as they enjoy the view. The Waterfront walk continues with a boardwalk over by the North Carolina estuarium and several riverside houses. The city celebrates its riverside location with painted crabs that can be found all over the city. As one of the older cities of the state, there are many historic buildings to see, including several houses that date back to a time close to the city's founding. Other historic buildings visitors can see on a walk around town include the original courthouse built back in 1786, the former Atlantic Coastline Rail Depot, which opened in 1904, and the Turnage Theater, dating back to 1913. More of the city's history can be discovered with signage around town that shares information about historic events like those associated with the Civil War and people who lived in the area, such as the location of the former home of film producer Cecil B. DeMille. Not far from the late film producer's home is Main Street, where the Turnage Theater is found. This is one of the best spots to explore Washington's shops and restaurants, including Two Rivers Ale House, which is named for the nearby convergence of the Pamlico and Tar Rivers. They offer a great spot to enjoy a few drinks with friends and even catch a game on one of their TVs. I decided to try their Easy Peasy Cheesy Pretzels, a tasty take on a sort of pizza bread, and their Hefeweizen they called Just So You Know. Another great brewery option is Pitt Street Brewing on the Pamlico, which is built in the old John Havens Moss Mill that opened in 1904 and uses the former Pamlico River Rowing Club boathouse as one of their seating areas. This is Pitt Street's second location, as they began in nearby Greenville, and they offer several types of beers that I enjoy. So I chose a flight to sample 4 of them, including their Pactolus Light Lager, the Pils Baby Pilsner that's made special at this location, Batty's in the Bathtub Belgian Wit Beer, and Oktoberfest Marzen. It was an enjoyable way to cap off my time rediscovering Washington. The following day, I took a short trip back in time to my old stomping grounds in Greenville. The city has grown quite a bit since we moved out there from the Seattle area in 1999, and has gone through quite the transformation since I moved to Florida in 2011. Some of the biggest changes have happened on the campus of my alma mater, East Carolina University, including their new student center off of 10th Street. Parts of the campus bring back memories though, like the trustees' fountain inside of Wright Circle, and the mall where students would make their way to their classes or nearby dorms. I also passed by the Spate building, which I was quite familiar with, attending many of the classes I needed for my middle grades education degree. This bit of nostalgia continued over on Evans Street with a favorite local spot called Michaelangelo's, a New York-style pizza restaurant where I had many slices during my high school and college years. They do offer a solid cheesesteak sandwich, but today was a day for what was my go-to order, 2 slices of cheese and a Dr. Pepper.
A nice little trip back in time, getting a couple slices from Michelangelo's here. Go ahead and put some Parmesan on there, red pepper. Oh yeah, it's nothing like a New York style slice from Michelangelo's. Oh, so good.
After lunch, I returned to another area where I spent many days and evenings, heading over to ECU's sports complex. Taking a stroll around the complex allowed me to see the continuation of the growth of their athletics program from the smaller, more basic venues of the time that we became new residents of the area. One of the biggest changes since moving out of the state came to Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, home to the school's football team. While the facility has had multiple changes since I walked up and down the steps of the seating bowl, selling Pepsis and water as a walking vendor for my first job, the most recent change has really given the place a new feel, from the addition of the Town Bank Tower, providing the stadium with a new press box and premium suites. One of the stadium's features I hadn't seen before was a memorial to the 1970 Marshall University football team, located outside of Gate 10. They played what would be their final game against East Carolina at this very stadium, because they were lost in a tragic plane crash on their way back to Huntington, West Virginia. After taking a stroll around the complex, I headed into Minges Coliseum, the home arena of ECU's basketball and volleyball teams. As part of the growth of the university's athletic program, they added a new basketball practice facility, which also houses the university's Athletic Hall of Fame, paying tribute to those who played an instrumental role with their various sports teams, from longtime coaches to athletes who went on to professional careers. Part of visiting this building was to take in some college basketball, and the first ECU basketball game I had been to since residing here. While the arena hasn't seen the same major renovations the football stadium has, they certainly added some decorations that really made it feel like you were in Pirates territory. Today's contest had the Pirates men's basketball team hosting Copen State, and while ECU isn't one of the state's premier programs for the sport, it was still a good time coming to see the game and hearing the familiar sound of East Carolina's fight song. In the end, the Pirates came out on top 84-75, making for a nice way to end this day back in Greenville. After a couple more relaxed days since my folks were feeling better, I took a field trip over to the historic town of Bath, which became North Carolina's first town in 1705. The best place to start here is the former Bath High School, which was renovated into the historic Bath Exhibit Center, a fairly modern museum that shares the history of the area and the people who lived here through a small theater and several displays. Some displays share details of the natives who lived here before the arrival of settlers, and others look at the importance of the waterways for the development of the settlements and colonies. Part of the museum discussed the town's most famous resident, Edward Teach, better known as the notorious pirate Blackbeard. After starting at the exhibit center, you can take a loop around town to see several historic houses and buildings, from the home of John Tompkins, who created the North Carolina State Fair, to St. Thomas Episcopal Church, which was built in 1734. You can also see a home built back in 1790 that was previously owned by John Vanderveer, the founder of the Bank of Washington, and now serves as one of the town's other exhibits. Bath's location near the Pamlico River offers several waterfront views, from a previous location of the James Adams Floating Theater to a wonderful view found in front of the Bonner House called Bonner Point. Eastern North Carolina has a lot of history to enjoy through its various towns, while having the opportunity to enjoy more modern entertainment and a variety of places to enjoy some good food and drinks. And I certainly enjoyed the opportunity to reconnect with my old home. But there was a chance to make a return visit to what I long considered my home theme park for enjoying some holiday festivities and coaster thrills between a pair of hockey games. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.